I know he ran in the room quick, but I can't see at the moment, so. Sorry, thank you for your patience and working out. There's always kinks in the first run through, and then we'll get everything. All right, our stream has started. We are set to go whenever you're ready, Arlen.
All right, I'd like to call a meeting to order at 5:34. Now I look for a motion to go into closed session.
I'll move to go into closed.
I'll second.
Christine?
All right, that requires a roll call vote.
Yep.
Arlen?
Yes?
Christine?
Yes.
Yes?
I'm a yes.
Sorry.
All right, so that carries. And we have a quorum. So.
Okay. Now we go into closed session.
We're in closed,
Sure.
okay.
All right. And I will end this webinar, and then you start it back up when you're ready.
Are we having a student council tonight?
Yes, they're
Yeah.
going to join us on the computer.
Okay.
Looks like Will is here.
It's somebody outside to,
Yeah, I communicated with him.
okay.
Yep, thanks.
We all set to go?
Yes.
All right. Next is the consent agenda items. The minutes of the January 15th, 2021 school board meeting and February 16th special school board meeting. Some professional staffing recommendations and co-curricular staffing recommendations. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda items?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Ann. Second,
I'll second.
Tom. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, motion from Ann, second from Tom. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. We have some personnel items not necessary for vote. And so we roll into student council report.
All right, so Will Carls is going to come up online here, and he will give our student council report. Hello, Will.
Hello, Lizzie is also here. But the two of us,
Will, we can't hear you. Hold on for 1 second.
I sure hope it's not my fault.
Stephanie, are you able to pick up Will's microphone on his end?
Yep, we can hear him.
Seems like our TV is on mute.
Okay.
Oh, so maybe it's not.
Maybe
him,
that's
it's
it.
us.
You hear me?
Here we go.
Great.
Yeah, Will, what did you have for breakfast today to do a sound check?
Here we go.
What did I have for breakfast
Will,
today?
let's try it again.
I had
Lizzie.
pasta. It was sort of
Still
a
can't hear you.
breakfast lunch combo type thing I was doing. A brunch, if you will.
Here.
All right.
Oh,
Well, that's not going to work because we're going to get
We can
feedback.
turn off your mic, I suppose.
no. We should all.
Yeah,
Well, it's
while
okay.
they're talking.
Let me step into the control room for a minute and see if we can't get this figured
Yeah.
out.
Is Lizzie's mic working? Maybe
You want all the mics
she
closed?
can.
can leave your mics open, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's not us, Will.
It's in the boardroom, so
Okay, cool. I just,
change some things out, so it'll just be a moment.
yeah, no.
Thank you, everybody,
no
for your
worries.
patience.
Check on the sound here. There we go.
We heard a noise.
We did. Will, Lizzie, can we try one more time?
We sure can.
Okay, there we go.
Fantastic. So Lizzie and I wanted to talk tonight and just give some updates on how the transition is going for the high school, now being, fully transitioned, how things are going, both from my perspective as someone who's staying virtual entirely this quarter, and from Lizzie's perspective as someone who is in person half of the quarter as well. So from my perspective, I think things are going fantastic. One of the big worries for me, and one of the big worries I had in communicating with other classmates and teachers and stuff, was that the students who were actually in class were going to get like an unfair amount of attention from teachers, and teachers were going to be like teaching the people who were in class and stuff. But I don't think that fear is really has really occurred at all. And I think what's great about the way the high school did the high school plan is that half of the students who did decide to go back this semester are in class, in person on Mondays and Tuesdays, and half of them are virtual on Mondays and Tuesdays, and vice versa. This means that there's never like a minority of students who are online, which sort of evens things out, so that people who are in person might be able to communicate with the teacher better, but it ensures that the teacher isn't just teaching to the people who are in person, because the majority of people are always virtual, which has really helped me. And I just think it's going fantastic from that perspective.
And then to add to that, Will, if you're done. Okay, so as someone who's going in person, I also personally think it's going really well. I'm in person Thursday, Friday, so I've only been back 2 days. And those 2 days really changed my perspective a little bit on this year. I think a lot of people really starting to get in a slump, and a lot of the Zooms became very much one-sided with the teacher teaching, but the students not responding as much. And what I noticed is when students went back in person, it actually got more discussion going, even from the students who are still virtual, as well as the students in person. There was more interactions with each other and with the teacher. So that was a benefit that I guess no one was really expecting. But I mean, the classes are much more lively again, which feels really nice to be back in a collaborative learning environment. Along with that, I think every teacher has kind of found their own way to do it. And from my perspective, that's perfect. I think it depends on the class as to what works best when you're combining virtual students and in-person students. And I have yet to find a teacher who's done a bad job. And I'm in 4 classes right now. So shout out to teachers for doing such a good job on this transition. And overall, I think everyone so far has benefited.
Good to hear.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. And anything else from the board?
I'm not really sure how this all works.
You can just talk like they're in the room with us.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. I'm glad to hear that it's going well.
Really great,
Alright.
really great
Thanks
to
for-
hear. Thank you.
Thanks for bearing with us on the new technology setup.
Yeah.
We'll get it figured out.
Yeah, it's old people.
All right.
All right, thank
Moving
you
on.
both very much.
Next is public comment. And how are we handling that tonight then?
Stephanie Miller is going to, from the Village Communication
Yep.
and Technology Department, is going to assist us with public comment tonight. We have one public comment that was submitted in writing ahead of the meeting. Tom is prepared to read that one. Stephanie, do we have anybody who's joined the meeting to make public comment tonight?
As of now, I haven't made any connection with anyone looking to make a public comment, but if they are, I would encourage them to utilize the Q&A portion found at the bottom of their Zoom window. Please state your name, your address, the subject you're looking to discuss, and if you have previously discussed this with Dr. Burdell. And we will wait. Well, we do have some online, so we'll let them type up that information if anyone is looking to speak to the board. I will then transfer them over to the Zoom side or panelist side on Zoom so they can address the board as they like.
Okay, and we can start with a written
Yes.
comment to give
Yep.
folks time if they feel they want to address the board via Zoom or via, I think we're on Zoom. We have just one comment in writing from Tom Mooney on Pheasant Run in McFarland. And his topic that he is writing in about is the reopening of school for in-classroom learning. And he writes, as an informed member of our community, I urge members of the school board to support and engage in a more effective and collaborative effort with school faculty members and support staff to do what is in the best interest of all parties in the district. Teaching and support staff are in the best position to help guide the reopening efforts for in-classroom learning to be safe, effective, and meaningful. Everyone agrees that in-classroom learning needs to be available as quickly as feasible. Historically speaking, the unique reputation of the McFarland School District has been a direct result of teacher empowerment, school staff engagement, and a strong collaborative partnership between the educators and the school board. I encourage representatives from the teaching staff, support staff, and members of the school board to simply sit down together to communicate and actively listen to each other in an open and positive manner without distractions. There is a win-win scenario to the reopening of the school for in-classroom learning for all students. All parties just have to set aside their biases and get down to work to create that win-win scenario that is reasonably within everyone's reach. And Tom Mooney signs that as a retired educator and former school board member.
Very good. And
Stephanie, have we had anyone log in to make a comment?
Not receiving anything in the Q&A portion from the public at this time.
all right, then we go on. District Administration Report.
All right. Thank you very much. Situated here. All right, thanks again, Stephanie. We are going to begin the district administration report tonight. Well, we have two reports to give tonight. The first is on our district equity work, and the second will be a school status reminders and updates report. So we're going to begin with our district equity work, and I'm going to invite Mr. Carnister to share his screen with the group. And what we're going to talk about this evening is a combination of things, kind of an overview of the equity work that's been done over the last 3 years since the board adopted embracing opportunities for diversity while taking on challenges related to equity as a board priority, and also since the resolution that was adopted over the summer, last summer. So work that's been ongoing, and then work that we're looking ahead to do. So Aaron will start this off, and then this is a team presentation, so you'll hear a number of us joining in. So Aaron, thanks very much. Great to see you online, and take it away.
Hello, thank you so much for this opportunity. Yes, the team is assembled here. We're going to be sharing a few things. A couple of notes about the kind of the purpose of this conversation today is we want to make sure to provide just an overview or a snapshot of our recent, kind of in the last 3 years, efforts within our schools and in the district related to anti-racism and equity. But we want to be clear, this does not include all that has been done. What we didn't want to do is overwhelm you with a 10-hour presentation on all of the work we've been doing. So we will be kind of highlighting a few things within a structure of talking about things that pertain to the audiences of students, staff, and families. So please, as you have questions, feel free to share those. Made the decision to kind of talk about what's next, and the rationale to start with what we want to do next is we don't want this presentation to come across as a feeling that we've got this all taken care of, look at all we've done, this work is completed, check the box. We want to be clear that we have a lot more work to do. You're going to be hearing about the Community Impact Grant, which I know you're aware of, but a little more details about that. And also, we've developed and will be implementing a district anti-racism resolution action plan. So you passed this resolution, a wonderful document, but only as good as the work that's done. So that's some important work that's ahead. Some of the areas that we've identified where we really have some growth within the district, despite the things that we'll be talking about, some of the highlights are about having a more cohesive and intentional and coordinated district plan. We've done a lot of great work in buildings, but we want to be a little more strategic, utilize our resources a little more efficiently, and have a clear vision. We also want to develop a district-wide anti-racism scope and sequence. So talking about race with our students and what that will look like in developmentally appropriate ways. We want to implement professional development for all of our staff. That's part of the resolution. We've done some things with that recently, but we want to have a framework that is kind of system-wide so that regardless of what building that you're in, you're going to get the professional development that you need. A more inclusive curriculum, which we'll speak about, that work will never be done, as well as continued equity audits. How are our students doing? How are they perceiving their experience here? We'll share some of that tonight as well, but that also is a never-ending process. One of the more exciting things is the development of a parent equity council as part of the McFarland Equity Project and the Community Impact Grant. So that's a next step that you're going to be wanting to hear more about in the coming months. And then also looking to expand our work with Natural Circles of Support and the Black Student Union to other schools. So I wanted to highlight that with you just to let you know that we have some important work to do, and we'll revisit this again at the end, provide some context, I think, for what you're about to hear. So in terms of our work with students, I mentioned inclusive curriculum, and that is really important work. And Dr. Burdell is going to share a little bit more about some of the things that have been happening recently.
That called for started looking broadly curriculum across multiple
Thank you. In terms of other areas of our curriculum, having multicultural text throughout the curriculum in our classroom libraries, in our physical libraries, is really important to us. That's something the district has done quite a bit of. Many teacher study groups around this area, really trying to look at the text that we provide access to students. We certainly have a long ways to go. We're continuing to learn and grow together. Equity audits are just that idea of kind of looking at the curriculum in the ways that Dr. Burdell just talked about. Having identity lessons for students, where as part of the curriculum they reflect on their own identities and appreciate the identities of others is something that we really started to expand this year with some success, and found students really responded well to that. It was a great way to get to know our students a little bit better. I did want to talk a little bit more and have, I think we have Greg Nelson on a little bit here. He's going to talk a little bit more about some of the things that CE has been doing related to this idea of equity audits and looking around your school and seeing how students are represented.
Sure, thank you, Aaron. So, like you just mentioned, we are completing in the district schools equity audits, and that's not only examining the curriculum and making sure that students are able to see their culture and background and other people's cultures and backgrounds represented in the curriculum, but also environmentally in our schools too, in the displays and visuals throughout the school. That's work that schools are already engaged in or beginning to be engaged in when it comes to both the curriculum and the school environment too. And like I mentioned, it's really important that they not only see themselves represented, but other people as well. At CPS, that bottom bullet point there, we know that with our very young students, we're building that foundation, and it's exciting to see how charged the staff are this year, beginning that work really intentionally as a whole building when it comes to working with our students and teaching them. We've committed not only to examining curriculum, examining our environment with that environmental equity lens, but being intentional on our lessons too. So you'll see that we're doing at least monthly lessons with our students. For example, Black History Month last month, Women's History Month in the month of March too. So just speaking a little bit about CPS, but then the district portion as well when it comes to those equity audits.
Excellent. And I think that really speaks to something that's, we've talked about, is having this experience from, early childhood on through 12th grade, that students will see themselves and others represented in our curriculum. A couple other things, just know that we have empathy and ally lessons throughout the district. It's really important to talk about harassment, particularly related to race. Also, our approach to student behavior is positive and proactive. You've heard about positive behavior interventions and supports and restorative practices, all of these things, and it really does tie together because often exclusionary approaches to student behavior disproportionately impact students of color. Also, we at the middle school had some lessons this year that are really new to us in talking about race real directly. We shared with the students, as other schools have, about the board resolution. We've talked about what civil discourse looks like around the election. All the schools wanted to make sure their students knew how you can talk about your beliefs and your feelings related to the election. So those are just a few things related to curriculum. Also highlight some of the student presentations because that's often something that you think about and you hear about related to really powerful experiences that our students have engaged in. So I believe we have Ann Nichols is going to talk a little bit about Spartan Peace Project.
Hello, can you guys hear me all right? Okay. Sure, yeah, so we've done, Spartan Peace Project has been, here since 2018. We've done things in the past with Serve to Unite, Arno and Pardeep, and then last year we did some things with Percy Brown. We'll hear more about that later. I just wanted to focus on one of the new initiatives that we've been working on, which is started last October. McFarland High School became the first high school chapter for We Are Many United Against Hate in the state of Wisconsin. Since then, Deerfield, Mount Horeb, Edgewood, and Dodgeville High Schools have joined the Student Ambassadors Board for We Are Many United Against Hate. And the purpose is that we would get together monthly and we share ideas about what we are all doing to end hate speech and bigotry and racism in each of the schools. Administrators talk and students are in their breakout groups, student ambassadors, and they discuss what they are doing. Each high school has 2 to 3 student ambassadors, and like I said, they discussed various projects or awareness campaigns, what they're doing to try and get their community involved in the We Are Many United Against Hate movement. There's also student ambassadors from UW Madison and UW Stevens Point. And so we are working to continue partnerships with them as well as other higher learning institutions as we go. I think Madison College is another one that they're trying to partner with. Our representatives are Hannah Rounds, a junior, and Valerie Vaselberg, who is a freshman. Just very quickly, the goals for We Are Many United Against Hate, it is not to just start a whole nother club, but rather the purpose of this group is to take the clubs that are already at McFarland High School, working towards anti-hate speech and racism and microaggressions, and have them each focus on their own area, but then bring them together and share their knowledge and their experiences. They've come up with, we visited a couple of clubs already. We've talked with BSU, we've talked with GSA, we've talked with the Multicultural Club, and we have commitments from 10 other clubs and organizations that are willing to join the We Are Many United Against Hate. What that looks like, or what does that look like for these students? We have a PSA, a public service announcement that our ambassadors are working on right now, and they're going to share what we call the CARE and SHARE method. CARE stands for communicate, calling in people when you hear an offensive comment or want to ask a question. Awareness, recognize microaggressions and ask a question that causes the person to stop and think. The R is reflection, reflect on your own biases continuously. And finally, empowerment, empowering others to stop hate speech and racist comments through our own actions and words. So that's CARE. Our other goal, we have two other goals, is in addition to getting clubs and activities involved, we have a community awareness campaign. We have a t-shirt that's been designed, and any club that decides that they would like to be part of We Are Many United Against Hate, they will get their name on the t-shirts. And we have yard signs that we're going to be ordering and sending out in the community in April. And then the final goal for this term is we are going to attend the Dane County Social Justice Youth Forum with representatives from the various high school clubs that I've mentioned, as well as We Are Many United Against Hate on Wednesday, April 14th. They'll attend the sessions and then report back to their clubs on the conference themes, which are student leader activist training, celebrating all cultures, and cultural appropriation. And those were all themes that were determined by a group of students in Dane County. So that's all I have for what's going on with this peace project this year.
Awesome. That's great work. And you'll hear about that a little bit more as we kind of connect some of our student sort of involvement in activism projects. Something else we wanted to highlight, it feels like it's been longer than the spring of 2019, but we had NAACP Image Award-winning author Kekla Magoon. She came to the middle school and the high school. We read the books in class, staff read the books, and celebrated her amazing work. So bringing in authors is also part of this work. You've heard quite a bit about Percy Brown Jr. and really gave a powerful presentation for students, and I'll also talk about for staff in the fall of 2019, talking about the N-word, the history of successful Black Americans, and kind of what's missing from our history books in courses. And it really was a powerful presentation and good springboard for much of the work that we've been doing as a district, but especially at the high school. In terms of the Power of One Assembly, I think we have Associate Principal Al Nordhaus who's going to share a little bit more about what happened at WIS.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Thumbs up, Aaron. You hear me okay? Awesome, cool. So this year at Wabisa, we got creative and figured out a way to host all of our students in Zooms for all school assemblies. So we have them on Wednesdays, and we've had as many as like 440 of our students in the Zoom, and we stream them to YouTube. So you guys can go out on YouTube and find our Wabisa Intermediate School all school assemblies. And for the month of October, we focused on the power of one. So Wabisa Power is something that we have at our school, where each letter of power represents something else. And for October, we welcomed in Letitia Hollard, and she focused on how the power of one person can make a positive impact in our community. And she she met with Corey and I a couple of times and planned out this kind of mini video. She made it for about 6 minutes and talked about how she had the power of one person to kind of change our community of McFarland through the lens of her Black Lives Matters organization and protests in the spring. And it was fantastic. The kids loved it. She actually came to the assembly in Zoom, was one of our participants, and spoke to the kids as well, live as well as in video. So it was a really fun opportunity. She did a great job of making it age appropriate for our Wabisa students. And it was a great connection for our high school down to Wabisa as well.
Yeah, really powerful. I think just showing that model and using our high school as role models is pretty exciting stuff. Thank you, Al. So we talked this a good segue to student involvement and activism. Natural circles of support. You've heard about this, but really, the middle school and the high school, what we're doing is bringing together our African American students to share, to learn together, and to provide really insight that can be taken to the rest of the school about their experience as a Black student in our district. Sometimes they have an action focus, and sometimes it's just about connecting and being there for each other. Heard a little bit from Ann about the MHS clubs. You know, how exciting. They just really have so many great opportunities for students to get involved, and now being leaders as they are, and kind of connecting that all. Was there anything else that you, Ann or Sarah, wanted to add about clubs, or do you feel like you got it covered?
I feel pretty good. We're kind of in that emerging state, but there's a lot of energy. So
I agree.
It's really exciting, just to see how engaged the students are. So, and that message always is more powerful coming from students. And something we haven't really talked that much about is the middle school. We created an African American History Bowl Club in 2018. Unfortunately, weren't able to compete last year with COVID, but planning to continue in the future once they get started. That's through the 100 Black Men of Madison. So we have students that it's open to all students and learn about African American history and compete. And if you win, you can go on to the national competition. So something kind of exciting that many people might not know about. All right, so that was our students as the audience, and now we're talking about staff and professional development. There's so many things that we've done: implicit bias, microaggressions, identity, becoming an equitable educator, creating your multicultural classroom library, as I talked about. So a few things we want to highlight was, first of all, we mentioned about Percy Brown coming and speaking to the entire staff, and that was a really powerful presentation. That not only engaged our staff and learned something, but sent a message to the staff of the importance of this work. Many teacher study groups occur related to issues of race. Listed a few things here: culturally responsive instruction, the libraries, cultivating genius, becoming an anti-racist educator. There's other things like the El Paso anti-racism course many people engaged in, Institute of Critical Consciousness. I would say, after the murder of George Floyd, up on through to now, there's really been momentum. There's been a lot of new opportunities for our staff, and they've taken advantage of those. At the building level, each building, based on their current staff, but more importantly, the level of their students, have different presentations. We focused a lot on microaggressions at the middle and the high school, and implicit bias. One of the things that's really been a neat thing that's been happening this year, that Principal Corey Shevchuk is going to talk about, was this culturally responsive teaching and the brain book study being done at Wabisa.
Thank you, Aaron, and hopefully you can hear me. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So Aaron talked a little bit about the Percy Brown presentation that was done last year. And those types of learning opportunities really create that common understanding that really, and in that situation, brought us all together. What we had found out was we had some phenomenal TSG learning happening, and we had particularly, I know the Institute of Critical Consciousness this past summer, we had a second round of that opportunity, and a much broader. We had a larger number, but one thing that we felt we were ready for as a staff is to engage. Again, those were large numbers, and we had a lot of staff that were excited and engaged and really building some momentum. But the one thing that we were lacking was a shared learning opportunity for all of our staff. So we felt it was a really big priority this year. And to engage in a common learning experience together. And so that's where the culturally responsive teaching in the brain. And in collaboration, talking with Percy Brown and Rainey Briggs, we had a conversation with them about kind of giving them an assessment about where our staff was at in terms of their journey, and that we were kind of tossing around this book idea, and they thought this was a good recommendation. So we purchased books for our entire staff and tried to chart out a course this year to allow for all of our staff, not just our teaching staff. So I think that's been really powerful too, that we've provided the opportunity both at staff meetings and at times during our PD days to include our office staff, our special ed assistants. So this is, in these groups, we've kept our learning groups together throughout the year. And we're about halfway done with the book right now at this point. And it's just really, really powerful to see the conversation, the deep conversations that are happening, because essentially the book takes us through the journey of some brain research, doing some introspective learning about our own surface and deep culture, and really developing it into action about being a culturally responsive teacher. So just a really exciting learning opportunity for us as a staff, and to really empower our support staff, who sometimes can feel maybe a little bit maybe on the outside in terms of learning that we have. So looking forward to continue that learning journey throughout the rest of the school year.
Thank you, Corey. I really like that idea of putting it into action, because that's something that I think often those of us that have been doing this work and doing learning often have difficulty connecting it to actual changeable practices in the classroom. So what a powerful example that is. And in terms of CE, a kind of a new exciting opportunity, a partnership with UW Madison. So Greg, would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you, Aaron. So as Corey mentioned, similarly at CPS, we realized that all of the wonderful opportunities out there for attending PD, joining book studies, participating in online modules were awesome for learning and growing as professionals at our building, but it wasn't creating that shared foundation that we really decided we needed in order to move forward and have deep conversations, be able to be on the same level when it comes to addressing and teaching around equity and diversity. So the way we approached that was by establishing a partnership with Dr. Dan Tim from UW Madison. We have a connection to him because he's a professor in the kinesiology department where our PE teacher graduated from, but he's also a leader at UW when it comes to equity and diversity, serving on lots of committees and having leadership roles there. We have partnered with him to provide a course of ongoing professional development, just like Corey said, for all of our staff at CPS, for support staff, teachers, administrators, even front office staff. The way we went about that was we completed a survey as a staff about where we're at on our equity journey, and we actually got this idea from Corey at Wavisa and asked what topics people were interested in learning about. We shared that with him, but then we kind of balanced it with his knowledge of how to help us establish that foundation, and he created like I said, a series of PD for our staff. So We participated in professional development this year already about identity and cultural identity. We're going to be moving forward this year and next year, continuing to learn about cultural self, cultural curriculum, cultural communication, and a cultural learning community. The staff have responded really well. He's done a nice job leading us in PD over Zoom, gotten great feedback about how that's going to help us have that shared foundation in order to collectively grow as a whole staff in our whole staff equity journey. So very similar to the other schools, it sounds like, and thanks Corey and Aaron for setting that up for me to talk about CPS.
Yeah, really exciting. And all the district will benefit from that experience. The next thing is in terms of leadership, and it's so important we have staff that really want to be on the front lines and part of this change process. We have building equity leadership teams in each building, and that's where they're working together to see how this work manifests itself in each of our schools. One of the things, kind of a unique thing that's been done this year, is related to hate speech. And that was something that the associate principals brought forward, and Sarah Luzalaki is going to talk a little bit about that work.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, or Aaron, sorry. The hate speech document idea, which all of you should have in front of you from Andrew, was brought to the forefront of our work at MHS when we recognized early in September a need for policy and procedure that centered on addressing hate speech. The overall goal of this document is to define what hate speech is, as well as provide learning opportunities for students and staff to recognize and interrupt hate speech in the moment and discuss and restore relationships after. And you can see towards the end, there's a lot of resources where we were able to pull a lot of the valuable information from on that document. And overall, the most rewarding part of this work was being able to collaborate with the district associate principal team. We had a lot of really powerful conversations when we were able to break away in smaller groups during our weekly administrative meetings throughout the fall. And our overall hope for the document would be to have it in our handbook for this upcoming school year. Back to you.
Back to you. I like that. Yeah, so it's kind of an exciting thing. I think the policy changes are a good example of where we can start to put this work into action. In terms of our administrative council, it's really been, this work has been a focus of the group, especially this year. However, in 2017 and 18, we participated in a Leading for Equity Academy, and we conducted a very comprehensive equity audit where we looked at student performance, participation in different programming. That's something that we're trying to build in to be a routine part of an annual process, so that we're really making sure that all of our students have equal opportunities to participate in many of the great things this district offers. Of course, lastly, but certainly not least, you know about the exciting grant that we were able to secure over 5 years, and Dr. Burdell is going to talk a little bit about that.
Thanks very much, Aaron. And so Christine Pribanal, is one of our board members, is also instrumental in putting that grant together as our academic partner. So the partnership on this grant is the UW Madison School of Medicine Public Health, Natural Circles of Support, and McFarland School District. And so we were able to successfully write for a community impact grant from the Wisconsin Partnership Project. We were awarded that grant in October of last year. We officially began working under the grant in January of this year. And the grant itself builds on the work that, Aaron, you referenced earlier, that we have started with Circles a number of years ago, first here at the high school in connection with our Black Student Union, and then expanding a little bit past that through the high school. And then most recently at the middle school about 1.5 years ago when we expanded our Circles partnership to Indian Mound. And so the overall goals of the grant are to continue to, where we are already doing mentoring circles, continue those, and also establish mentoring circles in each of the schools, to empower staff leadership, to engage in district-wide inquiry around issues of equity, and to develop seminars and communities of practice with other circles, districts, and schools. And very, very importantly, to engage families and community in the work that we're doing. And the central focus of the grant is supporting the social emotional health of African American students in grades K through 12. And that's a very, very important, because the social emotional health and well-being of all of our students, is both a prerequisite and a precursor to success academically. And there are many, many projects that address curriculum issues and pedagogy, and those are all very, very important. There are fewer projects that focus intentionally on social emotional health and well-being, which are really the learning conditions in which those other things happen. And so we're very excited to have the opportunity to continue our partnership with Circles to really focus on improving social emotional conditions in our school. We are in the process of establishing connections with Conrad and Wabisa. We have our first Circles meeting with Wabisa under the grant this week. Conrad will be coming soon, and we are connecting Circles with the McFarland Equity Project as well. So that is those are both goals of the grant for community engagement. And I'm very pleased to say that we're helping Circles connect with CISA 2 as well, and Dane County Equity Consortium. One of the other goals of the grant is to connect with a broader community outside McFarland, both to share our work and to learn from other people as well. So that is, we are 2 months into a 5-year grant, and it's really exciting to get it started, and we're very, very appreciative to have the opportunity. And Christine, thank you again for your help in pulling that off to get that going. So, thank you.
Excellent. And then families. We had the equity roundtable for a few years. It really started at the high school, and now important thing is wanting to expand that to a parent equity council. You heard the representatives from the McFarland Equity Project talk a little bit about that, and that is something that we are actively doing right now, setting up meetings and starting to develop that group. Something I would add probably here, since we put this together, that I think is important, is just providing as many opportunities for our families to be engaged and a part of decision making. One of the things we've learned through this experience with COVID is that opportunities for families to share their thoughts, their insights, only makes us better. And so that is something I think that could really continue both through those involved in the Parent Equity Council, but also those that choose not to be, or are not able to be. A meeting isn't for everybody. So providing one-to-one conversations and really listening and hearing from our families and engaging them is an important part of this work. And then lastly, back to that second slide right there, about what's next. So implementing the grant, the resolution action plan, taking the work that we've done and just providing more coordination, more intentional scope and sequence in our both our curriculum inclusiveness, but also our discussions of race. You can see the amazing work being done at CEPS and right up on through is important. And continuing to check ourselves and to monitor our progress, both in terms of actual data about student performance, behavior, but also perceptions. Are we creating that safe, welcoming school environment that we say in our mission and vision? And then lastly, just providing more opportunities for students to be supportive, engaged, and admiring and celebrating and capitalizing on their activism, along with our families being more involved. So that was a lot of information. I know that was long. Can you imagine if we shared every detail? But welcome the opportunity for, if anyone has questions, for any of the esteemed panelists that have presented to you. We're happy to answer any questions you may have. And this has been a weird process being an MC, but it was kind of fun. So it's neat.
Is there any questions for the group?
Questions or comments?
Good work, everybody.
Yeah.
Very thorough. Thank you.
Very good work. Christine?
first of all, thank you for pulling all of that together. I would love to have the slides because I think that there's just so much there. I'm really appreciating how thoughtful you've been about a number of things. One is including all staff, because I think all of our staff are part of our community and engage with students and each other and staff, and so having everyone involved in that learning and having common language, that common experience, I think I'm really thrilled to see that that's happening across the different schools. So I just want to say kudos to you for doing that and engaging that. Otherwise, just fabulous work. I'm so excited and so pleased to see how much and how thoughtful you've been about all of this work. Really looking forward to engaging the community more. We have and we do, but even more so. Really looking forward to the equity group. So just want to say thank you all for the hard work and efforts that you're doing. And at least in my experience and what we found with our own research is when you make the environment and community better, you're working on it for, name any particular group, for women or men, it helps everybody. So all of this work pays off for everybody. So that's all I have to say. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, well, we'll go to the next presentation, and thank you so much to everybody for putting all that together.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of work and condensed into a very short talk, really. But hopefully you see the fruits of our labors and the efforts that have been underway for a number of years here. So we're excited to continue to bring that forward.
Very fulfilling, very good.
Yeah, thanks.
School status?
School status updates are next. So we're gonna shift some stuff around on the screen and get that ready. I'll share my screen. Here we go. And this. Okay, whoops. I'm not sure why that's there. We want to go with this one. There we go. All right. So we are going to have a school status report and update for tonight. I just need to shift one thing on my screen there. There we go. All right. So tonight we're going to cover four things. We're going to talk about, we'll give an update on the COVID-19 data. We'll have a vaccine update. We got some very exciting news over the weekend about opportunity for our staff to receive the vaccine. We will spend some time talking about the plans in each building for potentially, I want to say that again, potentially moving to step 4 or something, a next step beyond where we are. And these are contingency plans. So we are anticipating the public health order expires next week. We don't know what they will change. We are not making any decisions at all on changing instructional models tonight, but what we're presenting to you tonight is a contingency planning update, because we want to demonstrate both to you and to the community that we are constantly revising our plans and reviewing our plans to be prepared for things that may come forward. So that's the purpose of tonight. I just want to emphasize that we are not saying tonight we're going to move from one step to the next step. This is a contingency planning update we'll talk about. And then we'll finish with appreciations as we have been doing for some time, which is a really nice way to end the talk. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren for COVID data. And Lauren, just let me know when you need me to switch the slides up.
Sure. Andrew, you can go to the next slide already. So looking at our COVID data, this is just taken directly from our website. So this is our data dashboard. This section of the dashboard is updated daily. So as you can see, it was updated today. We currently have no active student or staff cases that we are aware of in the district. And I always add that caveat in there is our students who are virtual don't always have to tell us if they have experienced COVID, because there isn't that direct impact on other students or our staff members. So our data so far is looking really nice. You can go to the next slide, Andrew. The next part of our dashboard, we actually updated on February 19th. We changed it a little bit. We used to track the census tract of McFarland so that we could see how the community was doing. And that data wasn't always 100% accurate because it didn't look at the entire county of McFarland. It looked at the census tract of McFarland, which I'm sure Jeff Mahoney could explain the differences there. I cannot, but it wasn't our direct population. So it wasn't always a great indicator. So we made the adjustment to switch to include our reverse metrics. And these metrics we update, the buildings update daily. We update the dashboard weekly. So this was updated for the week of the 22nd, and you could see last week we were notified of 0 positive cases. For staffing, we had 10 professional staff members that needed substitutes and 5 support staff that needed substitutes last week. And that we didn't utilize any tier 3. That's kind of our emergency coverage when we're really short sub coverage. And then close contacts, we didn't have any close contacts because there were no positive cases last week, which was great. Any questions about our data before I jump into the vaccine update?
Christine.
Quick clarification, that staffing availability wouldn't necessarily mean due to COVID, correct? It could be just that people were out for whatever reason?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that could be just people were out for any kind of reason. Those are just the numbers of subs we needed throughout the district.
Right, it kind of gives you an idea of where we're at overall for needing subs.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you. I like the changes you've made to this data dashboard.
Thanks.
Okay. Next.
All right, so on to our vaccine update. Andrew, you can go to the next one. So I just did a side-by-side comparison about where we are as a county with the vaccines. So we have around 150,000 doses that have been administered in Dane County. And this is to date last Thursday, so I'm sure there has been some more over the weekend. 92,000 people have received at least 1 dose, which is about 17% of our population here. 60% of our 65 plus have received at least 1 dose. And one of the caveats here changed a little bit, which as you'll see in my district update changed our numbers, is that initially public health was asking to receive 14,000 doses so that they could do a mass vaccination site at the Lion Energy Center this weekend and next weekend. They did not receive enough doses, and so now they had to push that date back until March 15th. So you'll see that the Alliant Energy Center will host a child care and teacher vaccination clinic starting on the weekend of March 19th because they were unable to receive the doses that they needed. So on a plus side for us, the district had enough people who responded to a survey saying they were interested in being vaccinated through the district. So we are currently partnering with SSM Health or Dean and having a vaccination clinic on site on March 19th. And again, this is pending that we receive the doses of vaccines that we need. I am hopeful that we will. So our first dose would be given on March 19th, the second then on April 16th. So how this will work is SSM Health will give us the vaccines, and our nurses and some outside nurses will help administer the vaccines to our staff. Currently, we have 115 staff, and this includes our WEVA staff, as they are part of our district, have signed up to receive the vaccine on site. Since my email on Saturday, that number has dropped slightly. I think we're just below 400 people that for whatever reason were not able to participate or have received their vaccine somewhere else. I am hopeful that we will not see too many more people cancel from our numbers in hopes that we can keep our vaccination clinic here. All right, that is my update. Any questions on the vaccine?
Lauren Auerland has a question about vaccines.
Are we including on the staff, are we including the bus drivers?
Yes, I have already a list from Nelson. So the people, just so you're aware, the people and community members that have been invited to participate in our clinic are Nelson's Bus Company, CLM, Gingerbread House, Little Spartans, because they are 4K partners, and the McFarland Youth Center, along with the virtual school. So we have included them into these numbers.
Lauren, can you remind us again, what was the bottom line number you needed to have the clinic?
So the bottom line number was over 300. However, when I submitted numbers to SSM, they have asked that I be in a 20% error window. So I actually submitted a number around 420. So we couldn't necessarily drop down all the way to 300.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I have a quick question. In the group, and I understand they're village employees, but crossing guards included in that? I mean, they're viewed as school affiliated, although their paycheck does not come from the school. But they would be similar, I think, in a position as Nelson Bus Company. They're affiliated but not directly paid. Any thought to the crossing guard contingent?
Sure. So Tom, I have a meeting with SSM Health on Thursday that I actually have a running list of people that I want to say, can we include them? And I will add crossing guards onto that list. And if they are, I will reach out to them.
Okay. Any other questions about the vaccine?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. So we're going to transition now, and we're going to revisit the steps for reopening. And as I said at the beginning, I just want to make this really, really clear. We're presenting a contingency planning update tonight. We're not saying we're going to move to a next step. Going back all the way to August 3rd last year, we presented our 5-step, well, actually it was at the end of July, where the board approved our 5-step transition plan. Step 1 is having just staff in the building. Step 2, which we spent much of the year in grades 3 through 12, was fully virtual instruction. Step 3, which as of just last week, we now have all the buildings in Step 3, which is a hybrid blended learning model. And then the next Step 4 would be a hybrid full in-person attendance using student cohorts. And what's different about Step 4 is Step 4 is only possible to consider if and when public health changes the distancing requirements for some or all grades of students. And so, again, going all the way back to the beginning, we put together this 5-step gradual reopening of schools plan. And so what we're going to be talking about tonight is potentially what Step 4 could look like if and when, 1, public health changes those regulations, and then if and when the district decides it's appropriate to move forward. So, again, Step 4 is a hybrid because we will continue to have students who attend virtually. If we do transition to a next step, we will continue to have the virtual option for students, both the in-house virtual option and students who were participating in WEVA. And then we'd be looking at a full attendance with cohorts. Now, cohorts at grades K through 8 are basically a homeroom design. That's a cohort. At the high school, it's very, very different. It's what we have now is half the building is essentially a cohort, which is a very different approach to cohorting, but high schools work very differently, and public health has supported us in doing that in the past. So what we'll do is work through each of the schools, and we're going to begin with Conrad. So Greg, if you would just give us a sense of what are Conrad's contingency plans looking like? And again, nothing is set in stone. There's been no decision made, but just as we're trying to be proactive in our planning.
Great, thank you, Andrew. So I'll start, and one thing you'll quickly notice as we go through the different buildings is there's going to be a lot of similarities that you hear as far as both what stays the same as far as what we're familiar with already from our Step 3 hybrid model, and also similarities in the changes that we would be making in that contingency plan that Andrew mentioned if we were to go to a Step 4 in-person model. Full days is what I mean. So I'm going to highlight some things that would stay the same to start. And that at CPS would be classrooms. So the AM and the PM sessions that we currently have in the hybrid model, they would then become one cohort with their teacher that they already have. they would remain in the regular classroom that they have been attending in their AM or PM session. And it is tight, I acknowledge that, but our classrooms at CPS can accommodate 3-foot distancing for an average of 20 students. Also, cohorts in general remain together throughout the day. They continue to not mix with other classrooms, for example, at lunches, related arts, and at recess. We continue with our safety procedures of masking, hand washing, or sanitizing, the disinfecting measures that our building and grounds crew have been absolutely amazing with. Arrival dismissal procedures would stay the same just at the very beginning and very end of a full day. And distancing measures remain in place. Again, distancing in this case would be a 3-foot distancing. We would continue to prioritize social emotional literacy and mathematics instruction throughout the student school day. Our weekly schedule of Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday and Friday for students in person in the building would remain. Wednesdays would stay the same as far as staff planning, collaboration, and meeting, school cleaning occurring on that day. That's the day that the deep cleaning occurs. And we would transfer all of the asynchronous learning that's been happening those 50% of the time when they're not in person on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We would transfer that to a asynchronous Wednesday learning opportunity. We would still keep recess for kids at CPS in the step 4, but we would keep the measures in place that have been working as far as having classrooms in pre-assigned zones. Of course, rotating through the zones so they get to play in different areas based on the day, staying with just their cohort. We would be looking at tentatively 2 recesses a day, just for giving them opportunities to get out of the classroom and get their bodies moving. Changes in a step 4 model though. Distancing obviously would go from 6-foot to 3-foot. That's how we could accomplish having all kids in the classroom. At CPS specifically, this would be a change. We would need to determine enrollment for step 4. The hope would be that we don't lose students, but we would want to determine any K-2 family enrollment commitment for a transition to step 4. Will they stay in person? Might CPS need to explore a virtual option? And like you see in that 3rd bullet point under changes, because if enrollment does indicate a need for a virtual option, that would be a new addition for CPS. It would impact our staffing, scheduling, and in-person student programming. As I mentioned several months ago when we talked about the addition of an in-house virtual option. Another change would be our student instructional day. It's tentatively planned at this point to be 8:00 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Based largely in part on not only the needs of our students, but on transportation and coordinating that between buildings, definitely. Another change would be related arts. So the related arts team of music, PE, library, art, and life skills, which is their guidance curriculum, they're determining how to incorporate their instruction into the 4-day in-person student week. So instead of students doing their learning asynchronously for related arts online and then 1 live related arts Zoom on Wednesdays, they would now get to see the related arts teacher in person in a safe manner that team is working to plan right now, actually. Of course, being there a full day, the kids are going to get hungry, so we're developing a plan to safely have students eat snacks, tentatively, thinking about what that could look like, but definitely lunch during the day, including remaining in their cohorts and keeping distancing measures in place. And then finally, busing would be provided for qualified riders both to and from school at the bookends of the day. So again, like I said, you'll start to quickly see that there's a lot of similarities in what stays the same and changes, but for CPS, that's kind of the big picture plan of what stays the same and would change in a step 4 model.
Thanks very much, Greg. Are there any questions for Greg before we go on to Wabisa? No. Okay, thanks very much. All right, Wabisa, Corey and Al.
Excellent, thank you. Like Greg said, and you'll see it here, is a lot of similarities and consistencies across our building. And one thing to note is that everything you're going to see here, Andrew's talked about it, this is all tentative. We are currently actively engaging our building leadership team, our BLT, in some decision-making processes, giving us feedback, and including our staff too. So tentatively speaking, here's what's we're looking at staying the same, is that our homeroom groups, and we've been telling parents since we made the shift to step 3 that we will make every good faith effort to keep those homeroom groups together. So they'll largely remain the same unless a family chooses to move their student to a virtual option. Those cohorts will now be combined, the AM and PM together. And right now our students have been familiar with all school year long, whether they've been virtual or in person now for the last 5 weeks, of having those small 8 to 12, 13 maybe students in a group. So that will definitely be something that we'll look to making that change. But nonetheless, like I said, they'll be together as one big cohort, and they will not be combining throughout the day. Our safety precautions will continue as we have disinfecting, hand washing, distancing, masking, our rival dismissals, and we'll make slight adjustments just as we currently are every week. I know Al and I are constantly evaluating our situations and looking to make improvements based off of things that we're observing or feedback that we're getting from both families and our staff. And both our in-person students and our virtual students will experience a full learning day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, as Craig mentioned. Our curriculum focus that we've had all school year long around social emotional learning and literacy and math will also remain the same. Obviously, they'll have a little more time to dig a little deeper. And then Wednesdays, as Greg mentioned, that asynchronous and synchronous, we will have some of those learning opportunities, but that will maintain being an opportunity for deep cleaning and team collaboration, staff meetings. And Greg had mentioned that our related arts, and you'll see that down in the changes, that they're going to be offering 4 days of instruction now. And that does free this opportunity on Wednesdays for them to be a part of collaborative team meetings as well, which is a nice opportunity for them, because currently Wednesdays are our related arts days for our students. So while our core staff are doing planning and collaborating, our related arts staff are doing their live instruction. And then we'll continue with recess with our cohorts and rotating through zones. As we get down to changes now, you will see that recess, while the cohorts will stay the same, will rotate in zones. We currently have, and it's the 4th bullet down, students in the half day have a 15-minute recess, and we're gonna tentatively looking to add a second one to really kind of split up the day, because students will largely remain in their classroom for most of the day. As I mentioned earlier, that we're going to be merging those 2 AM and PM cohorts together. The longer instructional day from 8:10 to 2:40. And of course, there may be some adjustments due to transportation. And all the buildings, we're working super collaboratively together to make sure that our time, if we're adjusting our time, it's not unintentionally impacting another building. As you mentioned, related arts will provide a 4-day-a-week option for students, which is a change from what they currently have. And of course, with having students there for a full day, we need to provide them with some food and some snack opportunity, because to maintain small lunch sizes, we will have to spread our lunches out, and we'll have to have currently looking at 6 different lunch periods, which means that we have lunch happening a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later in the day. So we'll want to have some snack time and create some safe routines and procedures for that as well. And then lastly, important, getting students to and from school, that all qualified bus riders will be able to get to and from school. And currently, as you may know, that our students only in the PM have that opportunity right now. Al, anything to add in on? Or any questions from anybody?
How's traffic working out over there? I know there's a lot of parents, a lot of cars. I know we've changed the buses from where they used to pick up. Now we're picking up in a small lot or small circle. How's the traffic pattern around the school in general?
Overall, I would say pretty well. It depends on who you ask. No, but overall, I think it's going really well. Speaking on the continuous improvement, I guess that's what I would call it, is that I mentioned earlier. Al and I are constantly, we're in contact with Nelson's and talking to the daycare shuttles, and so we made another change last week with that. Primarily for for safety, obviously, but also for efficiency. And we're keeping kind of a tabs on length of time from dismissal to when the last car leaves. And I think early on we were in about the 14-15 minute range, and now we've got it down to about the 9-minute range. We also have Arlene, the main office. She'll at times look and track a vehicle and see how long it takes. And I would say once our traffic starts moving, parents are maybe in the line for 3 to 4 minutes, and maybe it feels longer than that, but so overall I think it's going pretty well, and we've got a crossing guard now down at Leanne and Red Oak, and that's been really great addition.
And I wanted to mention that crossing guard because that is really huge for safety. It's at, Corey said Red Oak and Leanne Lane. Previously that was not a crossing guard there, and when we switched to hybrid, we knew that would be a high traffic area. So Officer Miller, John Miller worked with us and Jeff, and we were able to secure a guard there for the rest of the year. So families who are maybe looking to have students walk know that there is now a guard there, which is really great.
Any other questions for Corey and Al? Okay. Let's go to Indian Mound Middle School and Aaron and Brett.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I don't need to repeat everything that's been said before. One of the things that we are very fortunate is that we're able to move in between these models pretty easily because so much does say the same as others have shared. Our rooms, we have looked at our rooms with our largest class sizes when things are combined, and we can fit people at a 3-foot distance, or actually more. 3 feet for a middle schooler it's not even comfortably. You need to have a little more distance, so we can fit some more distance than that. But that is only because of the outstanding community support that led to the remodeling of Indian Mound Middle School. We actually don't think we could support our current hybrid model at 6 feet if the school wouldn't have been remodeled. So a little reminder how grateful we are for that. Our cohorts stay the same. Our teachers and classes stay the same. Our terms stay the same as we move forward. We're able to continue our concurrent virtual model. We anticipate, as the other buildings have shared, and Greg started off right away, that there may be some differences. Some families, if the distance does get closer, may feel less comfortable. And we know that we may actually have some people that choose virtual that are in person now. I will tell you, I think it's important for the board to know that pretty much every day we are having more families who chose virtual choose hybrid. Some families have just said that they wanted to see how it went and just to make sure that things were safe, and we appreciate that. The other things are, of course, the safety precautions has been shared in Wednesdays being a really important day for cleaning and collaboration. In terms of changing, obviously we're combining our AM and our PM cohorts as the other buildings are talking about. Our kids are actually saying, when do we get to meet our PM kids or our AM friends? And that's kind of a neat thing. The start and the end time, originally over the summer when we put this together, our estimate of transportation needs had us starting at kind of a 10 to 3:30. We think we're actually able to move that up to 9:15 is the latest information we're getting from Mr. Mahoney and Nelson's. So that would be kind of our day. So you see kind of a shifted timing from what you see K-5 to allow buses to run their routes and then come and get our kids. Obviously, the reduced distancing, longer classes. So what we're doing essentially is kids are taking the same classes that they would have been, regardless of hybrid or fully in person, but for a longer period of time, because we're combining their in-person instruction and what would have been homework asynchronous instruction. So now when our kids leave here, they're not done. They've got homework to do, they've got work to do asynchronously on their own before they come back for their next half-day session. This would kind of put those two together is the idea. But we'd need to add recesses, obviously staying in cohorts. K-5 has kind of shared that model with us of what that would look like. We need to add lunch and snack. Most likely our kids would eat in the cafeteria, up to 50 kids. But that's, that's about a third of our students in a grade level. So we would have kids eating in classrooms, staying in their cohorts, because we've got to spread them out. The data is clear that eating is one of the times you're taking off a mask. So that's something to make sure we do really well and stay safe there. And of course, our transportation. I'll kind of, not that you asked this question, but I just want to say about transportation and the traffic flow. We have one of the worst driveways for pickup and drop off. That's not a secret. And because Jeff Mahoney and Nelson's work so well in using the high school for our bus pickup and drop off, and we have cars come up here, we are so grateful for how well it has worked. Similar time frames. I think today pickup this afternoon was 6 minutes. Where people are getting their kids picked up. So really, really going well. That would obviously put a little bit more strain when we don't have half the kids, we've got double the kids in step 4. But that would be a change, but we're confident it would go well.
I would say, and part of that also is, I think we've been consistent from building to building as far as expectations for transportation. It's really helped our older students and the families as they see what's happening at CEPS and La Visa, and it's been really helpful to train's not a good word, but to inform them of the procedures. So thank you to the other buildings for all your work with that too.
Definitely. Any questions for us?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron and Brett. Let's transition over to the high school.
Good evening, everybody. I'll probably echo a lot of what you've heard already from my colleagues. But I will tell you that at our last meeting, last time we met with you, we presented to you the plan for step 3 of the high school. And we have been on that plan for about 1 week. And I was happy to hear Will and Lizzie use the words fantastic and going really well. And I would concur with that. We're pretty happy where we're at. I mentioned that because the foundation of our last step will be very similar to what the foundation is for our contingency plan moving forward. We'll have to keep our cohorts because of class sizes. We don't think we can combine them and fit everybody in classes. Our term starts April 8th, same safety precautions. Will did a really nice job tonight outlining how our weekly schedule goes, with Monday, Tuesday being a Navy cohort, and Thursday and Friday being a Columbia cohort, and then the virtual students are streaming in both classes or both cohorts. As everybody else has said tonight, Wednesdays would still remain the same as we have. We have our freshman academy that's gone really well. Our advisory would meet, advisory and clubs and interventions would happen on Wednesdays as well. So that foundation of what was presented to you last week would remain intact. Some things that we're looking at changing is the length of our classes. Can we extend our class period from, say, 51 minutes to maybe 75 minutes? And to get closer to more complete all in-person instruction, less asynchronous time and more synchronous time with students. When we make the classes longer, the school day longer, we also have a lunch issue we have to look at. And so we have to figure out how many students can we have really, truly safely in the cafeteria? What other alternative locations do we have, whether it's down the athletic hallway, other places we're kind of brainstorming about. And when the weather gets nice, it will be nice to have some picnic tables outside and take advantage of that area as well. So again, the foundation stays the same. We have some changes, but what I really want to talk about is the process we have to use, because we're diving into this now, and our process is in full swing. And I outlined the process to you last week. And so just kind of give you an update how we're approaching this. As our building leadership team and MFT members have the plan. We met last week with both groups and already said, here's what we're thinking. And we're getting feedback from those two groups, as well as feedback through the forum, the feedback forum that we have. There'll be a survey going out from the district, and we're going to really ask about the impact of it potentially lengthening the school day, and how does that impact students and families, but we also have to look how it impacts our instruction. And so we're going to review that feedback and make a better, more solid, detailed plan for you. But to give you an idea, we need to look at class sizes, whatever changes we make, and how has that impacted teaching load. With teachers teaching through the day, they lose about 2 hours of prep time right now. So how do we make up for that? We need to talk about the curriculum change being students in the third term having 51 minutes of synchronous time. That same class, different students would have 75 minutes of synchronous time. Is that an academic impact? We have to discuss that. But I think a couple issues, we also want to talk about special ed IEP minutes. When we lengthen that school day, there's an impact on special ed meeting their IEP goals. The two things we're really looking at and getting some data on is the impact of youth apprenticeships. We have 40 students right now in youth apprenticeship programs. And if we lengthen the day, that'll be a third change to those students' work schedules and could impact how they work and what they get access to. So we have to see what impact that would be. Can we work around and help them out? But the other thing we have to get information on is impact on students who aren't in youth apprenticeship, but are working still, whether it's to help the family, to financially, other responsibilities at home, earning college money. We're used to being done at 12:36, so adding a couple more hours to the day could impact those work schedules. So we're right now researching that as well and have better numbers there. So I apologize if it seemed kind of vague what we're doing, but we have to get some information before we can really solidify our plan. Otherwise, like I said, we repeat a lot of what the other schools are doing. So that's, in a nutshell, the high school contingency plan.
Questions for the high school?
Don't have any. Oh, yep, you do.
I just had a question. Thanks, Jeff. I know you just started, so to be thinking about this is probably a little bit overwhelming. You mentioned lengthening the day. Do you have any idea of the schedule for the day, or are you not even ready to go there? And I'm asking way premature.
What was presented and been discussed is going from 9 to 2:30, but we'll review that too to see how we're impacting the job sites, the students who are working.
Yeah. There's a lot of considerations for sure. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Jeff, could you just say, you mentioned it earlier, but could you just explain why at the high school, because of the class sizes, we're needing to stay with, at least in what potentially the next step would look like, why we're needing to stay with the 2 days a week approach?
Right now, we feel pretty comfortable with 9 students in a class at that 6 feet range. If we got lucky and got down to 3 feet, which, like Aaron mentioned, it's pretty cozy for a high school student, we're thinking the largest class size would be 17, 18 students. And so we have to review, but we're concerned that we cannot get all our class sizes to that size, that we can't get our classes that small.
And so that's what necessitates having 2 separate groups attending.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Other questions for the high school? Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Before we go to appreciations, I just want to, actually I'm going to just come off that slide just for a moment and go back here. I just want to, as we're closing out this part of the slide deck, I just want to explain again why we're even having this conversation. As I mentioned at the beginning, And for folks who may be tuned into the meeting midstream here, the current public health order, which is Order 13, expires on March 10th. And so typically public health, when they're ready to release a new order, they do that a couple of days ahead of time, but not much before March 10th. We don't know what's coming yet. We anticipate there will be changes. They will possibly be around distancing. There may be other changes coming too. We don't know what that looks like yet. And so again, the purpose of tonight's presentation is to share with you what our advanced contingency planning looks like in the event that some of those things change, and there is a decision to take up about whether or not to move forward. Along with that consideration, it's also very important to keep in mind the timing of the vaccine clinics, which are the first dose clinics is in as Lauren mentioned earlier, that's mid-March. The second dose clinic is in mid-April. How all of those things coincide is a very, very important factor in all of this, as well as are all the other things that you heard tonight, including impact on families and staff and students and transportation and all of that. So there's still a lot of moving parts. But I just want to emphasize as to why we're, especially at the high school, as you pointed out, Christine, we just started step 3, and now we're talking about a change, and obviously that creates some stress for folks too with the planning. But I just want to be really clear why we're having this conversation tonight. So thank you very much to everybody for sharing your planning process and the updates, and thank you to the board as well. And so as we close with some congratulations.
Can I make
please.
a comment or an observation about that? Because I know there are a number of community members that want to move on a dime once things are opened up. And I think as we saw here, the considerations are more than just recommendations. CDC guidance or Madison-Dane County Public Health, there are a lot of logistical items that have to go into any decision. And, so I hope our community understands that even though things might seem like they can open up quickly, there's a lot of moving parts that we have to consider. That it's not just a single item that influences our decisions on how we move. I just want to make that observation for anyone who might be watching.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, that is you're right on. We experienced a lot of that just in this last transition. All the pieces that go into that. So those are, yeah, it will be that again. So and I appreciate you highlighting that. Appreciations for this evening. We've got 4 to share. First of all, congratulations to Beth Canfield for being named recipient of a Cole Fellowship Award at the high school. That is extremely well deserved for Ms. Canfield, who's a school counselor, student services professional at our high school. And congratulations to Marty Qualheim, 6th grade teacher at Indian Mountain Middle School, also for being named a Cole Fellowship Award recipient. Way to go, Marty and Beth, and representing McFarland School District extraordinarily well. And we're grateful for your work and your talents, and very, very much appreciated, and we're glad to celebrate you this evening. Thank you to Nelson's Bus Company for being flexible and working so well with us this year. As Tom mentioned, with so many moving parts, and we had an opportunity to join the Nelson staff for a little recognition breakfast last week it was, and it was just a great opportunity to be at the garage and say thank you there. And so thank you to Nelson's. And then last tonight, thank you to our amazing district technology department and our building tech integrators and technology leaders for making sure our staff and our students have access to and know how to use the devices and tools that we need. We couldn't do this without you. When I think back to the time when I was just joining the district, we were, the one-to-one initiative had started, but it was still fairly early on. And, thank goodness for the foresight to have that technology in place, because without it, we would be in a very different place with what we could offer kids. Particularly this year, which was obviously an unforeseen occurrence, but thank goodness for the foresight of many of the people in this group and our board for supporting that work along the way as well. So that is our school status update for tonight. Thank you very much, and lots of detail, lots of things to be thinking about, and thank you for spending the time with us on it this evening.
Good.
Great. The last piece tonight is just a reminder of our upcoming school board meetings on March 15th, April 5th, and April 19th. We will continue to meet here in the boardroom with our hybrid Zoom technology. And a special thank you to Stephanie Miller and her team at the Village of McFarland Communications and Technology Department for all of their help in putting this meeting technology for us together this evening. Very, very much appreciated. And that is my report for this evening.
Very good. Any other questions or comments?
I'd also like to second the technology here. You probably can't see it on Zoom, but there's a lot going on here that,
There's a lot
that
going
makes
on.
this look simple, but it's not. So much appreciated.
All right. We'll move into the action items. First is action on Wisconsin Virtual Academy High School WEVA agreement. Administration recommends approval of the WEVA High School agreement. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Tom. Second? Thank you, Ann. Questions or comments?
Could I make a comment just
Sure.
for context? So the next few items are all WEVA contracts, and what we're doing here is we are creating a new set of contracts to get all of these different contracts on the same alignment in terms of calendar scheduling. And that was a recommendation of our three-year review a few years ago to get those things aligned. So that's what these next action items are. We will be doing the next program review with Scott Brown as helps us with that. That'll be happening in the spring and into the summer. And then what will happen after that is we will then negotiate a new set of 5-year contracts. These are short-term contracts to get them all on the same schedule as a first step in getting them all set up for a long-term alignment and renewal.
Very good.
Thank you.
So next is action on the Wisconsin Virtual Academy K-8 WEVA K-8.
Sorry, we got to vote on the high school one first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I missed up on, I got looking around.
I got excited.
Motion from Tom, second from Ann. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes by majority. Next is action on Wisconsin Virtual Academy K-8 WEVA 8 K-8 agreement. Administration recommends approval of the WEVA K-8 agreement. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Ann. Second? I'll second.
Okay, go ahead.
You got it, Tom?
Nope, you can go.
I got it. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, motion from Ann, second from myself. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Next is action on Destination Career Academy agreement. Administration recommends approval of the attached agreement. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Ann. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments on this? Hearing none, motion from Ann, second from Tom. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes by majority. Next is action on Insight School of Wisconsin High School. And administration recommends approval of the Insight School of Wisconsin agreement. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Thank you, Ann. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, motion from Ann, second from Tom. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes by majority. Next is action on second addendum to the Insight School of Wisconsin High School charter contract. Administration recommends approval of the attached agreement. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Ann. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments on this? Hearing none. Motion from Ann, second from Tom. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes by majority. Next is action on McFarland High School early graduation request. High school administration recommends approval of the attached high school early graduation request. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Ann. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments on this? Hearing none. Motion from Ann, second from Tom. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes by majority. Next is action on memorandum of agreement between McFarland School District and the Center for Community Stewardship on behalf of the National Circles of Support for the implementation of Wisconsin Partnership Project Community Impact Grant. The administration recommends approval of the attached memorandum of agreement. Administration further recommends that the board authorize the superintendent to approve the revisions to the MOA on behalf of the district as needed to accomplish the goals of the Wisconsin Partnership Project Community Impact Grant. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Ann. Second?
I'll second.
Christine?
Beat me to it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Motion from Ann, second from Christine. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes by majority. Next is action on recommended WEVA DCA Insight Wisconsin Statute 11848G student transfers to resident district. At this time, WEVA Destination Career Academy Insight School of Wisconsin and requests approval of recommended student transfers back to their resident districts due to lack of engagement. Motion to approve.
I'll make to approve.
Thank you, Ann. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Motion from Ann, second from Tom. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. Next is a motion to adjourn, I think.
No.
Oh, get that. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Ann. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Christine. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we're out at, I'm going to call it 8 o'clock. That's close enough. Thank you. And thanks for all the help with the technology.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks to everybody on the call as well. Thanks
Yes.
for listening in and thanks for being there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
It's
Stephanie.
appreciated, guys. It really is.
Yep, we got all the kinks out tonight, so it'll be even smoother next time. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.